Thank you for joining us today for Pagosa Local News. My name is Gabrielle Dorr. I'm here with Casey Crow, owner and director of the Pagosa Springs Dance Academy. And we're not going to talk about the dance studio today. We're going to talk about your nonprofit work that you do locally and internationally. First of all, tell us the name of your nonprofit and then just what inspired you to start this nonprofit.
Yeah, so the nonprofit is called Beyond Words International, and the inspiration for the nonprofit kind of came from really 8 years of working with refugees. So I've worked a lot as a researcher and a volunteer in all kinds of different settings, working with refugees in mostly the Middle East and Africa. And in those settings, I found that there's just this huge lack of psychosocial support for these families that had, gone through so many terrible experiences fleeing conflict. And for me, being a dancer and a choreographer, the arts have always been kind of where I release tension, where I relieve stress, and it's kind of my way of just being able to express what I'm feeling. And I found that in these contexts, there just aren't a lot of opportunities for positive expression and stress relief. And so the goal of the organization is really to use the arts and to team up with artists and therapists and people working in their communities around the world to kind of increase opportunities for positive expression and healing.
So I didn't realize you were a researcher. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's something not many people know about me, I guess, but I've been doing research since 2012, and I was doing an internship in Kenya at that time with another Pagosa local, Lisa Hauger, and we started volunteering at a school for students with disabilities, and just from getting to know them, I found that a lot of those students had experienced sexual violence, and so I kind of drew this link between sexual violence and disability and how you're at a higher risk for that, but I found that there was no academic work done on that topic. So I got research grants and I started studying that as part of my undergrad and then my master's degree. And now I'm actually going on to a PhD to further study that with a school in London. So.
Wow, how lovely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thanks.
I heard you're doing something right now for moms in Pagosa Springs to help support them during the pandemic. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we've really been grappling with how best to serve our community during this time, and there's so many amazing organizations here that are doing a lot of work in terms of food security and different things. So one gap that we saw was just this need for support and for just having a safe space to talk about what's going on during this pandemic, because I think there's a lot of anxiety and not really knowing when is it going to end, and I feel like families are under so much pressure with homeschooling and work and all these different things. So we thought we would set up a free support group for moms where they can just come together and kind of process what they're going through, either with their families or just with the pandemic in general. So we have an amazing therapist in town who's volunteered her time to take on that group, and then depending on what kind of turnout we get, we're happy to continue it if we need to.
And so tell me about how you're going to do that right now. I'm guessing using like a virtual type group.
Yeah, so we'll do it online, and it's starting this coming Wednesday, and then it'll run for 3 weeks, just kind of for the first pilot project to see how it goes. And yeah, we're capping it at 7 participants, and it'll probably run for an hour and a half, just so that group of moms can kind of get to know each other and build comfort with each other, and then kind of build off of what they're talking about throughout the 3 weeks.
That's great. Can you give me the date for that?
Wednesday the 20th, and it will run from 10 to 11.
I love that you're doing local work, but I also saw that you are doing some international work. Can you give us an example of a successful project that you've done internationally, and just, how are you measuring success for that project?
Actually, our first project, our pilot project, took place last summer, and we were in Greece working in a Syrian refugee camp, and that was just such an amazing experience to kind of test out this idea of can the arts be a powerful mode of just bringing people together and letting them express themselves and find some healing for the trauma that they've endured. And so we went with a team of artists advised by a lot of therapists, and we came up with kind of different projects, art projects, dance projects that we brought to a school. And it was already an established education program, so we kind of just supplemented what they were already doing with this art programming, and it was really powerful to see how the kids responded to it, because when we first arrived, they told us that there were pretty firm divisions in the camp between Arab students and Kurdish students. And there was one day we were dancing, and just all the kids were dancing together. It didn't matter which group they had come from. Boys and girls were dancing together. And for kind of a Syrian context or Middle Eastern context, that's kind of rare. And the person who had founded our partner organization, Happy Caravan, he's a Syrian refugee himself, and he said he just didn't expect that. He had never seen, something break down those walls between different ethnicities and gender. So that was a really cool experience, just to see like the arts can bring people together, and through that you can gain a lot of healing.
That's really great. That's really powerful. So if somebody wanted to get involved with your organization, how can they do that?
Yeah, so they can find us on Facebook, Beyond Words International, and we also have a website, bwintl.org. So either of those ways, they can send us an email or reach out on Facebook. We'd love to have more partners, more volunteers, or if people are interested in hearing more about the work, we'd be happy to share.
Awesome. Okay, so you own a dance studio, and you're doing research, your PhD, and you're doing this nonprofit. How do you keep it all together?
I don't know if I really do. I just try my best. It's a constant juggling act, really. But, I think it's all about teamwork, really. I have an amazing team here at the Dance Academy, just these incredible young women who have jumped in to teach kids. So they do a lot of the work around here now. And then the same with BWI. We have a really amazing board who's so dedicated to the work. So I definitely couldn't do it by myself, but it's kind of fun to do a lot of different things. I'm definitely always on my toes, figuratively and literally, as a dancer. So yeah.
Well, you're definitely an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Casey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching this edition of Pagosa Local News. If you would like to see this story again, visit our website at pagosalocal.news, where you can sign up to have us deliver the news directly to your inbox.